So the next question is, the groundwater potential of the Gangetic Valley is on a serious decline. How may it affect the food security of India? You know, the Ganga Valley, the Gangetic Valley, is the largest valley in India, which is the lifeline of agriculture, is the lifeline for the livestock, is the lifeline for the industry also. Because it has multiplier effect on all the sectors which are dependent on the Gangetic Valley. That's why we always focus on the Ganga rejuvenation, the National Ganga Mission, the Clean Ganga Mission. Because it is having effect on all the sectors, even the biodiversity, the Gangetic dolphins are dependent on them also, which is an aquatic animal of India. This is how Gangetic Valley is so important. Now they have asked regarding groundwater potential of Gangetic Valley. Now you can start the introduction with some data. You can quote some data on how the groundwater is getting extracted in the Gangetic Valley. See, the Ministry of Jal Shakti, in its dynamic assessment report, have quoted that the largest groundwater extraction is happening in India. India is the hub for the major groundwater extraction. And when it comes to the Gangetic Valley, is getting overexploited. And it is reaching the tipping point. It is reaching the tipping point of the world where the groundwater resources are getting reduced. Now this you can quote as an example, or you can quote some other report. The World Meteorological Organization, the report, the global assessment of water resources. This report also have said that India is the largest extractor of groundwater in the world. Now the question you have introduced like this, the Gangetic Valley part you have understood and the groundwater you have understood. Then you need to tell me why the groundwater extraction is happening at the rapid pace in the Gangetic Valley. What are the causes of this extraction? You can quote two types of causes. One is the climatic factors. Then second, you can quote the anthropogenic causes, which are man-made causes. See, climatic factor, you simply make it as a climate change. Because of climate change, the extraction is happening. What is climate change doing? It is giving the irregular rainfalls. It is giving the irregular rainfall. It is giving the irregular rainfall. Because of irregular rainfall, if there is irregular rainfall, automatically, rather than focusing on the river, you go for the groundwater extraction. Then second, you have the droughts that are happening at one place. The droughts. Because of droughts, you need to focus on only the groundwater which can be extracted. And the third thing, which is happening due to climate change, is the focus on the invasive crops. The focus on the invasive crops is increasing. That's the next climatic factor. How the climate change is changing the people to go for the groundwater extraction. Because they don't have anything to drink or use. Then we come to the anthropogenic reasons. Why we are going for the groundwater extraction. The first reason, which is the major reason, is the Green Revolution. The Green Revolution part. Because of Green Revolution, what happened? Because of Green Revolution, it led to the agriculture becoming the primary source for the food security. When the agriculture increases, it leads to the use of fertilizers. Then it leads to the soil fertility disturbance. When it gets disturbed, then it can lead to the aquifer damage that can happen due to the leaching of this chemicals from the soil. Then it leads to this chemicals going into our food chain also, food web also. That is the next reason. Then second, anthropogenic reason being the public policy. We have an act called Easement Act. According to this act, if for example this land belongs to me, and every resource which is found on this land, even the water resource, which is a public good, belongs to me only. That's why I overexploit the water from this land, because this is my land. That was given by the Easement Act only. Then second, for example, consider we have Punjab government which is giving electricity free of cost to farmers. So it is a good initiative, right? So what will happen to the groundwater for it? Because you are giving free electricity, you use the pumps irregularly. You use the pump to extract how much amount of water you have in the ground. That leads to the pumping of groundwater. More amount of groundwater can be extracted from this. That is a public policy thing. Then third reason is the 60% of India is not irrigated. They don't have the irrigation potential. They depend on the groundwater only. The agriculture is dependent on the groundwater only. Then fourth one, why we depend on the groundwater is the urbanization. We have the urban cities which are more population dense cities like Delhi, Bangalore. Delhi, Bangalore are those cities where you extract maximum amount of groundwater, and Bangalore is facing a situation called ground zero situation, tap zero situation, where there is nothing to extract. All the groundwater aquifers has been gone, exploited. It has reached the typical points. So these are the reasons why we go for the more extraction of these groundwaters. Okay, we have understood the reasons. The question is not about the reasons. The question is how may it affect the food security of India? The effect on the food security of India. See, we have seen some data points how the agriculture is depending on the water. The effect on food security. The effect on the food security. When it comes to the effect on food security, it can lead to the food scarcity. See, when you have the water, you can go for those crops which will give you income. When you don't have the water, obviously you can't produce the food. It can lead to food scarce situation. What will happen when you have food scarce? You will dependent on the dependence on the imports. Just like how we were facing in 1960s, the situation of importing the agriculture products from the outside country. That will happen. Then again, what is the next effect? It can make the people dependent more on the rain-fed agriculture. The dependence on rain-fed farming increases. Dependence on the rain-fed farming, where you depend only on the rain for the water. Then it can lead to the next food security part. Dependence on rain-fed farming, we have understood. It can lead to more amount of digging of the holes. Because if the aquifer has not been reached out, you need to dig so much into the ground. And it can lead to more energy cost. Energy cost. Due to over digging of wells. Over digging of wells. And when the aquifer has been died out. See, aquifers will be like this. If this is the rocks, the water will be staying here like this. And if the water is gone, which are acting as a binding materials between these rocks, then aquifer collapse can happen. This collapse can lead to the collapse of the agriculture fields also. It can lead to the collapse the agriculture fields. Collapse of the agriculture fields. See, these are the effect on the food security which we can think of. Which we can think of the effect. Then what are the way forward which we need? What do we need to do to reduce the dependence of the Ganga Valley? So you see, if we consider this is Ganga Valley, this is the major part which is dependent on the Ganga Valley for the over extraction of groundwater. Now what we need to do? The need of the hour. We need to focus on the efficient technologies. Efficient irrigation technologies. Like micro irrigation, the drip and sprinkle agriculture which we need to focus on. Here you can quote the example of Israel. Water management techniques which can be taken as an example by India. Then second, which you can go for is the focus on the water policy. Focus on the water policy, which focus should be on the demand and supply side both. How to efficiently use the water. How to reduce the demand on the water. And you can include the water recycling techniques here also. And third, you can go for alternate cropping patterns based on the agroclimatic zone. Based on the agroclimatic zone, we need to go for the cropping patterns. For example, you can quote here the millet mission of India. The millet mission, millet revolution which we are going for. Then we can go for the bio-fortified crops also. Bio-fortified crops also. See, these are the things which we can do for going with the reduction of the groundwater potential. The groundwater extraction should be reduced so that when the aquifer is getting recharged, it can act as a future resource. Future resource. When there is proper aquifer for the Ganga river or Indus river or Brahmaputra river, then the minimum flow of the river can be seen. Otherwise, the flow of the river or the changing course of the river will be the news which we'll be hearing continuously. This is what which we need to write for this question called the groundwater and the impact on the food security in the Gangetic Valley. Because Gangetic Valley is majorly dependent on agriculture only. This is what you need to write the answer for this question.